and allegedly some of them are neurodivergent. They're especially, I know.
She's literally doing the she's neurodivergent in a minor meme. Oh my god. Okay, so Georgenotfound was a YouTuber, Twitch streamer, like whatever. So he's a Minecraft streamer and YouTuber, and he was accused of sexual assault. So on March 9th, Twitch streamer Katie Bugs alleged on her broadcast that she had been sexually assaulted by a significantly older popular content creator in the beginning of the summer of 2023. The streamer didn't directly name her abuser initially. However, she claimed that she was inappropriately touched while intoxicated by a creator 8 years older than me. Katie Bugs explained that her abuser, quote, disguised their non-consensual touching by asking if she was ticklish. Fans quickly began pointing out that Georgenotfound, with many claiming the Twitch streamer is known for having a weird tickling kink. So initially, the Minecraft star responded to a now-deleted post on X claiming that he'd been addressing the assault allegations in a future live stream once he gathers evidence. So he says, I'll be doing a very serious stream later. This post is just to make it clear that I'm gathering all the information and evidence. Katie Bugs didn't name who assaulted her at first. However, after fingers were being pointed at Georgenotfound, she confirmed it basically. So on March 11th, he finally responds. He explained that he met Katie in Dreams Hotel, having not known her beforehand. He made note that the streamer and the friend group had been at VidCon after a party. She claimed that she and her friends were wearing the over 21 wristbands. So I am with people that are over the age of 21 in a scenario where we're doing things that people over the age of 21 are doing, like drinking. Also, that people came from the VidCon event, and they had very heavy security. This was an official VidCon after party, where the previous VidCon after parties I had had trouble getting into those events. Georgenotfound did acknowledge that Katie did have her age in her Instagram bio, although he claims he didn't see it at the time. Still, Katie alleges that she answered the question as a part of a drinking game where she stated she was 18 and still a virgin. However, Georgenotfound explained that he couldn't recall, I just don't remember this happening. He said, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I didn't hear it happen. We were just sitting down in a chaotic environment. I could have been getting a drink. I could have been talking to somebody else. I don't know that was said. It explained that her and her friends were encouraged to drink, which George believes is phrased in a way to make it sound like his friends were preying on them. They had already been drinking before they arrived. They were drunk. This phrase makes us look like we were preying on them and forcing them to drink when they didn't want to, he responded. That's not the case. As I mentioned earlier, they were the ones asking to play drinking games before they had even arrived. George admits that he placed his hand on Katie's waist and under her shirt, although he explained this wasn't sudden. They gradually got more intimate throughout the night. The way that this is phrased makes it sound like it just happened out of nowhere. All right. In reality, we had been cuddling for an hour at this point. It wasn't out of nowhere, he said. The Twitch star continued. It was about half an hour, and until I started moving my hand up further. And the way that it's phrased makes it seem like it happened instantly and pretty quick. There was nothing quick about it. It was very slow and very cautious about making sure that she was comfortable throughout the process. Me and Katie were very touchy, very cuddly, and slowly got more intimate. He clarified that the furthest the two went was George touching the streamer under her shirt while she was, quote, engaging with him the entire time, smiling, laughing, and even play fighting. Katie Bugs released a full statement on X. She said that she finds it fucking insane that her allegations were being debated, despite the Twitch star admitting to, quote, touching her while she was drunk without getting verbal consent first. She also provided various screenshots for, quote, proof that the sexual assault and several points made it throughout both George and Dream's responses to the allegations. George himself also released another response, explained that his perspective had changed massively with new information being brought forward. Since reading Katie's newest post, my perspective on the night and conclusion changed, introducing new information that I was not aware of at the time. George added, quote, I have much more I will say, but for now, Katie, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I really hope that you can hear my words and try to understand that I didn't have any bad intentions. That doesn't change the fact that you were hurt. I will be saying more soon. And then he did a 27 video response where he addresses, I do think a lot of cuddling was initiated by me, but some of it wasn't. I was also drunk, but my impression at the time was that it was very mutual. He later stated, I don't think cuddling is an invitation for anything. I only brought up cuddling because it's something that she didn't mention at all in her original stream. And again, something that people need to know about and understand my perspective. Ended saying that he was unaware of her age. I wasn't aware at the time that she was 18, and I mentioned that they had come from an official VidCon after party. They were drunk, and I made the assumption that knowing that these events are run, that she was probably over the age of 21, as they wouldn't have been able to drink in there otherwise. To avoid this in the future, he stated, quote, "It is irresponsible of me that I made this assumption, and going forward, I'll make sure to explicitly ask for a person's age, and I'm sorry, Katie, that I didn't do that for you. As it stands, neither Georgenotfound or Katie Bugs has responded any further." So, fucking Minecraft YouTube is fucking bananas, dude. Is fucking bananas. I don't know, like, how, I don't know how you would say, basically, that, you know, you're, like, kind of cuddling at a party and somebody, like, tickles your stomach, how you would claim essentially that that was sexual assault. It's just I don't know. I wouldn't consider that to be sexual assault. She could have been uncomfortable. Yeah, it could have been uncomfortable for sure. It could have been something that maybe she didn't really want to do, but she was 18 and like it's not like he was like molesting like a 12-year-old at a party and like pressuring a 12-year-old to like drink and whatever. Very, very interesting allegations in my opinion. But our queen, Brittany Simon, and Lerix had a conversation about this. Lerix is the YouTuber that Alec Gunter said that he would... Alec Gunter was like, he looks like... Oh my fucking God. Alec Gunter was like, he looks like he's 14. And then he was like, I bet he gets fucked in the ass a lot. That's this guy. That's this guy. And then Brittany Simon is like a Twitch poll creator. She has very interesting lore. But she's kind of like a self-help guru. She has like this weird level system where like based on how introspective you are, you get like a level in her level system or whatever. And she's very like kind of hands off, very kind of like, I'm just doing like my own thing over here. Like there's not really any implications of what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. Like I just, you know, people pay me to like help them with their problems. And that's really it. And that's kind of like her response to people criticizing that she is like a life coach basically, but doesn't have any kind of credentials. And to be fair, you don't have to have credentials to be a life coach. People just have to trust you enough with their problems, and you know, they do. So, but apparently this conversation gets kind of juicy. So that's what we're going to be listening to while we play RuneScape, and I will catch up on chat briefly.
It's actually Lerix. No, it's Lerix. That's like a meme.
Okay. Perfect. Well, nice to meet you. I appreciate you reaching out. I know it's kind of weird when people make content about you, and then I always appreciate it when people slide into the DM. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's normal for this side, at least internet I interact with, so it's normal. But all right, so start this off. I guess you're fine with me taking initiative. So I saw your coverage on my video and just want to have a conversation about it because you seem to be very confident and condescending when talking about this topic.
Sure.
Even bragging about how much research you've done into this. So looking forward to seeing where that confidence is from. And so just getting right into it. Cool.
Yeah. Tell me what's on your mind, because I think we agree actually a lot. I think we just came from different perspectives probably. So do you know what I do as a YouTuber?
Commentary channel covers like a lot of like more on the psychology or philosophy side of things, I guess.
Philosophy, not psychology, but philosophy side of things. So when I'm making commentary, I don't know where other people are coming from, but I'm always trying to figure out like the most nuance, the most like what's probably happening versus what the audience thinks is happening. And then of course we don't know because like we're not reading any of these people's minds. So I'm interested, are you going to like talk to me about the situation, or are we talking about our different ideas about the situation, or kind of both?
Both.
Okay, cool. Okay, go ahead. Do you want to start then with maybe what we maybe agreed or disagreed on? I don't know how you want the conversation to flow.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I got it. So at 7 minutes in your video, you say, we have no evidence that Katie is manipulative, malicious, or a liar, but it's interesting that everyone runs with that. Does anyone have any actual evidence that she did that? And yeah, we do. Which you actually did react to that evidence in the same video that I covered. So you may have missed it or not, I don't know. But the reason why I say Katie is manipulative, malicious, and a liar is because she lied about George being the one who pressured her to drink alcohol and play drinking games to get her vulnerable when text proof came out showing it was her and her friends who asked to play. She lied about being freshly 18 and then got called out on that she was actually 6 months into being 18. And then she lied again to cover her last one, saying it was a typo in her script, even though she said it multiple times in her stream. And lastly, she lied about George touching her out of nowhere and that she could barely move or breathe, completely leaving out the context that they cuddled and spooned for over an hour beforehand, which after being called out, she then conceded, completely admitting to that. So I call Katie manipulative, malicious, and a liar because she manipulated and provably lied about information to make George seem more of a predator than he actually is.
Joe, I just about.
So it would be received better in the public, which by the definition, that shows she acted in malice by making George seem more guilty and a worse person than he is.
I definitely see that perspective. And I think that she corrected herself a few times with any of the misinformation. But I think there's also a question of, do they perceive the information the same? So that's where my brain has to ask people, have you ever been in a situation where like you both see something and then you have different opinions about the thing that you saw? Sometimes I wonder how much of that is playing a role. I agree that there were some absolute miscommunications, and you could call them a lie. And I think that's where I want to be careful is like, was it a lie or was it a miscommunication? Now, I do agree with you that in some areas, I could definitely see the evidence for a lie, but I personally don't feel comfortable making like a definitive, it was on purpose, she 4D chessed this, she absolutely planned this, like that kind of a feeling. Is that kind of the feeling you have though? Like you think Katie was like sitting there twirling a mustache and being like, I'm going to make this, like I'm going to ruin George?
Here's the thing. There's manipulations and there's lies in this situation.
Okay,
and,
yeah.
I mean, sorry, miscommunications.
Okay.
There's miscommunications and lies in the situation. I only mentioned the lies few of them. There's a lot of miscommunications, which is basically this whole situation you could call miscommunication.
Sure,
but
sure.
on top of it, Katie did lie.
Yeah. So the lying,
provable.
so the one lying I would agree with is definitely like the who initiated the drinking games thing. Like that, I would say is like a lie, or I don't know if like I'm trying to be too good faith here, but I could be okay with that being a lie because obviously there's text proof, right? So that would be definitely one I would agree with you on. The freshly 18 thing, I think we're just going to disagree on this in terms of language. I think what freshly 18 is meant to imply is that her naivety is there. She's young and inexperienced, which I think all 18-year-olds are. So I think it doesn't matter if you're freshly 18 or almost 19. I would still put you in that category. Do you have a different version of freshly 18 being something else?
So the problem is that she said she was freshly 18. People called her out, said, no, you're actually 6 months to 18. And then in her final thoughts, she clarified and said, oh, it's just a typo in my script. But I think she forgot that she said it multiple times in that stream. I know you didn't get to this part of my video because you clicked off it because I don't know, you're frustrated.
Yeah.
But there was proof of her saying it multiple times in that stream. And it wasn't just that she meant to say, I freshly graduated high school. She meant to say freshly 18 and then made up another lie to cover it. I could play that part if you've missed it.
Yeah, okay. So here's how my brain works when I'm seeing people. I know people misspeak all the time, and I know people aren't as smart as they think they are. So they're also not as Machiavellian as they think they are. They're not as malicious as people think they are. So in my mind, when I see somebody fumbling, especially the streamer who's been doing this for so long, you fumble over words, you say the wrong things, you make mistakes.
I will say though that like there is something to be said for like one, intentionality, and two, like what the outcome of that is. So like if I am to believe that she was just kind of like misspeaking, which I don't at all, especially because like Lerix said, she repeats it many times. It's not just like a one fuck up. It's like she says it a lot. If I'm to believe that, like the impact of that is still what like kind of my takeaway is. Like I don't think that you have to be like a dark triad, like fucking Machiavellian manipulator and shit like that. But like the impact of it is still gonna be, you know, that like you're falsely accusing somebody of something. Like that is still it doesn't matter if it's like calculated and cold and intentional and malicious. This is still what happened, right? Like you don't have to sit down and like write out the plan and then execute it for it to be bad. Like it still on its own can be a bad thing, even if you didn't 5D chess your way into like, you know, fucking ruining somebody's internet career or whatever. Like that is, I would say that's more the umbrage. Like it feels like semantics or whatever, but like it's annoying where it's like, oh, well, she's not like this Machiavellian, like evil manipulator or whatever. It's like, she doesn't have to be. She still did this, right? I don't know, dude. Ugh. Well, yeah. The motive, like, and the intentionality of it would make it worse, I would say. If it's shown that she was like 5D chess, Machiavellian, like trying to ruin this guy's fucking image or whatever, that's bad. But that makes it worse. It's already bad. Like we're already on the level of bad. That would just make it extra bad, right? Like I don't think that we need like the additional, like we can still look at it and be like, this was fucked up. You know what I mean?
Mistakes. I do it now, and I'm 35, and I've been streaming a long time. Like I do it now. So I'm trying to look at Katie as somebody who feels under pressure, who's someone who's very like nervous, who's saying things, and I agree with you that she either misspoke or was too embarrassed or something changed. But a part of me thinks there's too many reasonable reasons that could have happened. So my brain goes to, okay, she's either malicious, but keep in mind too, and maybe this is part of the miscommunication, I think she's a girl who genuinely feels like she was essayed. Whether or not she will agree to that in 5 years, maybe not. But I think for the person she is now, she believes that. So everything she's saying, no matter how sloppy it is, I think she is trying to make it seem as clear as possible that George is a predator, even though you and I don't agree that he is, right? You don't agree George is a predator.
Of course not.
Okay, and I don't agree he's a predator either, right? I mean, 3 full videos, like fully going over this. This was my 4th, I think, video on it. And so like for me, I obviously don't think George is a predator. But if I'm Katie and I'm in that situation, I'm 19 and I don't know better, and I spent 3 years of my high school at home because of COVID, then maybe I'm telling a story that sounds, quote, worse than it is because people won't believe like it's as bad as it felt. Because like do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm not trying to say she didn't lie. I'm trying to say, did she lie with intention, or did she fumble over her words? Because for me, like lying is a very specific
So she fumbled
thing.
over her words. So in your way of things, she fumbled over her words and then noticed, oh fuck, I fucked up, and now everyone thinks I'm malicious, and then made up another lie to cover that up. Because it's undoubtedly true that. Would you appreciate if I could just play the clip?
Sure.
I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Go ahead.
Let me share my screen. Because this was in the last part of my video, so let me get this pulled up.
Oh, okay. Click on it.
All right. Let's see. Would it be right here? Because you allowed George to be the one to point out this inconsistent.
What I meant to say was I was 18.
All right, here we go.
Go ahead.
When in reality,
Script that was supposed to say freshly out of high school.
also the fact that I said I was freshly 18, which is something a lot of people are mad about. When in reality, I was 18 and 5 months old. My bad. What I meant to say in that original stream where I said I was freshly 18, I said I was freshly 18 and just out of high school. What I meant to say was I was 18 and freshly out of high school. I just put it in front of the wrong thing.
This excuse would work.
So she says, I just put it in the wrong thing, but then There's more evidence showing that she said it multiple times in the stream right here.
The excuse, but it would have at least worked here. But you can't use that reason for the second time you said it.
They knew that I was freshly 18, and they also knew I was very drunk.
There's no mention of high school.
So that's the second time she said it. So her excuse of saying that she just misplaced it so that the sentence would flow as I freshly graduated high school is a complete lie. Because she said it multiple times, proving that she was just making up an excuse.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would say the way that I would read that situation, and because I saw her original video, right? I did, and I know I skipped the end of yours. I would say that this is how my brain would read that. I would read that as, okay, she means the same thing. I think she thinks it's bad either way. It's bad that she's freshly 18. It's bad that she's freshly out of high school. And now she wants to reword it in a way that makes sense to people, but obviously could mean both or either. Do you think Katie cares whether it was freshly 18 or freshly out of high school?
No.
Okay, I don't either. So I think
regardless, I guess I don't know. I feel like it's pretty black and white. The problem is that she said one thing and then lied to cover up. She said freshly 18 and then lied to cover it up and said, "Oh, I actually just meant to say freshly graduated high school," and that was just an outright lie. She said multiple times. It's like it's that black and white, you know?
Yeah,
I don't know what the miscommunication is.
Well, that's the dilemma, right? So I think I could see that perspective, but the dilemma is that it's not the only perspective. So it's not as black and white as it seems. Like humans don't work that way. We're not good at communication. We're not good at things. So I agree with you that she seems like she's mistelling the truth or rewording the script, but also to me, she just seems like she's not good at communication and she's fucking up multiple times, which I think we agree she's bad at communication, right?
Wait,
like,
what do you think she messed up the communication of?
I think when she corrected herself, I'm not sure why she did that because she could have just, because I think she probably, this is me reading her mind, which is not something we should do, but I do think, I know, she probably doesn't think either is bad, but she probably thinks the audience is going to read it that way. So she's trying to defend herself. And when you come to be defensive, you're going to end up trying to say things to communicate better, but it sounds worse. So
whether she said it under distress or not, it's still a lie. Like, I can see where you're getting at.
Yeah.
She said it under distress to try to defend herself. Regardless, she's still culpable for lying about George.
I think, well, she's culpable for anything that was a lie that she knows is a lie. I agree with you.
She did know this was a lie.
That was
she didn't know this was a lie.
What is the
Freshly 18 thing? She said it was just a typo in her script. That is a provable lie. That's what I just proved.
Okay, hold on. Let me think about this. Yeah, my brain is like, and again, this is why my channel is like a philosophy channel. So like, what does this mean? What does this mean when people say this? I'm okay with it being obviously possibly a lie, for sure, 1000%, right? I just don't know if it was internally a lie, but if it would help, I can concede and say that I could see why this could be considered a lie. I couldn't gun to my head if they're like, was Katie lying? Like, I wouldn't know how to answer that question personally. So I'm not sure it's a lie in that sense, but if it helps move the conversation forward, we can do that. The problem is, like, again, I can't read her mind. So I can say the implications of it.
Well, you don't have to read her mind. You can look at her actions. Like that's a big part of a lot of it, right? Is like I don't know what's going on in other people's heads. But if they continue to do something or they act in a certain way repeatedly, or you know, they're very clear with their intentions, or they walk something back, or they catch themselves in a lie, I don't have to read their mind. I can see what they're doing. That's not mind reading. That's like reading intentions by behavior. And that's like a pretty human thing to do. So if you say, you know, I misspoke, I meant to say like freshly out of high school, and I actually accidentally said freshly 18. And then you look at the way that it was scripted, and there's no way that that would flow from that. There's no way that you could accidentally say freshly 18 instead of freshly out of high school in the way that that video was scripted. So I can see that that was a lie, that she lied about saying, oh, I misspoke. She didn't misspeak. That's exactly what she wanted to say. And she's embarrassed because it was kind of a stupid point to bring up. And so instead of saying, like, clarifying, you know, I still think it's bad because I am, you know, 18 and 5 months. But what I'm getting at is that I was young and naive and vulnerable and impressionable and what have you. Instead of doing that, she lied. She said, I didn't mean to say that. She did mean to say that. That's a lie. That's not mind reading. That's looking at the behavior that she engaged in, right? I don't know if parents teach their children enough about regret. I've been with guys that I'm not proud of, and I wish that I hadn't been, but I'm not going to accuse them of assault. Well, and that's a big part of it as well, is that, like, after the fact, you can be like, damn, like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Or like, man, that was kind of a stupid thing to do. Or like, wow, you know, that was really out of character for me. Like, you can make mistakes. It's not a big deal. Like, you can fuck somebody that you don't want to fuck, or, you know, like, hook up with somebody and you get up in the morning and you're like, ooh, actually, like, she's not as hot as I thought she was. Like, you can do stuff like that, and it doesn't mean that you were, like, raped or assaulted or whatever. You can just, like, go for a guy, and then maybe it doesn't go the way that you want it to, but that doesn't mean that you were assaulted. That doesn't mean that you were raped. Like, it's normal to make mistakes, and it's normal to do, like, regretful things. Everybody has things that they regret, and it could be like silly little things like, I wish that I would have drank water instead of, you know, a Red Bull today, Or it could be something as serious as like, I wish that I wouldn't have like hooked up with this guy because now, you know, my body count's higher. I'm not, you know, I'm a slut now or whatever. Like you can have regretful experiences and they can be minor or they can be major. But that doesn't mean that you were a victim of that situation because you made a choice that you might have not made otherwise. And that's okay. Like it's okay to just like make mistakes. And again, I want to be very clear. Like the allegation here is that he like tickled her tummy. That is the assault that we're talking about. He gave her a little tickle. That's the assault, you guys. Like, I could understand, like, I would be more sensitive to this kind of situation if he, like, groped her. Or, like, if they were cuddling and he, like, put his hand up his shirt and, like, squeezed her tits. Or, you know, he put his hands, like, down her pants and, like, squeezed her ass or something like that. Yeah, that's kind of sexually aggressive. But a tickle? That's the assault? Was the tickle? She didn't even say it was the kiss. She didn't say it was him touching. It was the tickle. That's what it was. That rises to the level of assault. I think, honest to God, if somebody told me they were like, Malcolm, I was on my way to work and I was assaulted on the train and I'm like, oh my God, like what happened? Are you okay? And they're like, somebody tickled me. I would be like, delete my number. Don't call me anymore. Like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, that's just so crazy, dude. It's so crazy, dude. Here's how this could have gone. This is what should have happened. Yeah, I went to an after party at VidCon or whatever, and Georgenotfound was there. And, you know, we were kind of like messing around, you know, we were cuddling or whatever. And then this fucking weirdo just decided to tickle me. Like, what a weirdo. Like, what a weird thing to do. But anyway, yeah, so, you know, we hung out or whatever. The party was fine, and that's it. That's what a normal person would do. Because if I went to a party and somebody tickled me, I'd be like, that's fucking weird. Like, I wouldn't be like, rape! I would be like, oh my God, like, what a weird thing to do. Like, it's just kind of like a weird, awkward thing. That's all it is. It's not like you were, like, violently assaulted. You literally just had, like, a weird, awkward thing happen to you.
What would be a lie, in your opinion, from Katie?
Let's say she didn't think George essayed her. Like, she did not think that. That was not even anything in her mind at all, ever. Not convinced after, not, you know, talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, okay, I'm going to say he touched me so I can get clout and views. And she orchestrates a plan to tell a lie about him. That would be a lie. I think intentionality matters a lot to me personally. So I would say that if she, like, you know, if I found out, oh my God, like this was a 4D chess plan, she knew he didn't do that. She never even perceived it that way, even because, you know, people perceive things differently.
Wait, okay. Yeah, sorry, I understand. So you first said you, like, I guess, don't want to be too fucking debate brained right here, but you first conceded saying that she did lie about the text messages. So we already have a proven liar in our hands.
Well, everybody, hold on. Do we agree that everybody lies in certain ways?
That's completely besides the point. We're talking about this situation. She lied in this situation. Of course, everyone is a liar in other aspects.
Okay, hold on.
You know?
This is the difference between my work and other people's work. My work is to talk about the philosophy of the consciousness. So if humans are liars, and even though we all pick and choose how we lie, like I think in survival lying, it's good.
Okay, this is just so fucking stupid. Okay, yes. Sometimes, like, if my wife is like, do you like this shirt? And I don't actually like the shirt, but I'm like, yeah, I do like that shirt. That is different. That is different than me telling a lie about an allegation of sexual assault against somebody. That's totally different. Like, do we all tell little white lies here and there? Yeah, of course. Like, duh. Like, all the time. Like, no, I only had one beer. This is my first one, bro. Or like, no, I did not smoke your half of the cigarette. I would never do something like that. What are you talking about? That wouldn't be me. Like, we all tell little white lies. There is a difference between humans as a whole. Sometimes we'll tell lies, okay? Everybody does little white lies here and there. There's a difference between that in pointing out, building a pattern of behavior that this person lied knowingly about another person and alleging that person of sexual assault. Totally different things.
I don't think lying is good generally, but if you're in a survival situation, it makes sense. So I'm looking at Katie in a survival situation.
This is not a fucking survival situation. And somebody tickled your tummy at a party. Fuck.
Right? So once a liar, not always a liar, but everybody lies. So I can't debate I can't debate you on Katie specifically, because when I review people on stream, I'm never talking about them. I'm talking about them to learn about us. So that's what my work is. My work is not meant to like.
It just seems like you're like dismissing a lot though.
I
know it comes across as that way.
It should, because if I was doing what you guys were doing, if I was in your work, then yes, I would be like, oh, Brittany's not like engaging in what we're doing, but I'm not doing the same thing. So I think sometimes people review my work and think I'm just a commentary channel, but I'm actually like reviewing them to talk about us. So my audience goes, man, have I been Katie before? Have I been a George? Like, I've been falsely accused. I went to court for it. It was incredibly anxiety inducing. It was like the most like intense moment of my life. It was so exhausting. And now I never talk about that person, never bring them up. I don't have to go to court ever again about it. But it was horrifying. I cried. I was desperate. I went home to my parents. It was horrible. Now I'm lucky it didn't destroy my life because I had a support system and stuff like that. I could go to therapy and stuff. But it is a horrible situation. But like, I know ultimately that like my stalker is just a very sick person. And that like they did what they thought was right because that's what stalkers do. But like they're just very sick, right? Like that's what
Brittany
it is.
Simon,
so my work
Queen
is
of
about
Yapping.
understanding humans and why
Can
they
we
do
get
what
back
they
to
do
the
instead
content?
of thinking it's black and white. So does that kind of help? I'm really not trying to like.
Yeah, no, that's good. But to get like the brass tacks here. So basically, that you said you're fine with admitting that she did lie with the text messages.
Yes.
And you're saying there's enough evidence for you to understand the perspective of her being freshly 18.
Yes.
I showed there was clear cut. And now you also have a girl who completely omitted the fact that they were cuddling and spooning in her
Yes.
first allegation to make George seem more predatory than he actually is.
For sure.
She said, quote, that he touched her out of nowhere. So is that not a complete another lie?
Could be. Explore this with me. And again, I've done a lot in my life.
Let's
I've
go
lived
on
a
a
lot of
journey.
lives. So
Let's go on a journey.
in my cultural view, cuddling is inherently sexual. Is cuddling inherently sexual to you? I don't know your perspective.
Is tickling inherently sexual? Hello? Like, is tickling the same as molesting? Is tickling the same as squeezing the boobies? Like, tickling is not inherently sexual. Are there weird people that like jizz to getting their feet tickled? Yes, of course. People will goon to anything, of course. But tickling is not an inherently sexual act. Build this bridge for me. Build this bridge for me.
I don't know if I want to go down the cuddling route. I mean, she admitted that she would spoon with him too.
What
I
about
think to act
spooning?
as if two adults who are the opposite.
Okay, spooning is totally like a sexy thing. Spooning is pretty sexy, okay?
Sex who are cuddling and spooning for over an hour after just 2 days of knowing each other at night
Sure.
at some VidCon after party thing. I mean, to act as if there wasn't some kind of flirtatious context going on here would
Sure,
I
sure,
think be dishonest.
No, I agree with you. There is the possibility of flirtatiousness. Does the flirtatiousness allow for the ramping up, right? So where does your line personally draw? Because like, imagine you're Katie, you're on the couch, you've just cuddled, and everything seems pretty normal. And she also said they were group cuddling. A lot of people said that too. They were group cuddling on the couch. That's very normal. I've group cuddled with my friends. I've slept in the same bed as my friends. I've done camping trips with my friends. That all seems like pretty
Is it
normal.
normal to group cuddle someone you've known for 2 nights who's the opposite sex that you're attracted to?
It depends on the cultural bubble. If you're sex positive, sure. If you're like an atheist,
Sex
probably.
positive.
Well, if you're an atheist, probably, right? Like, what's wrong with like spooning, right? Is there anything inherently bad about it?
There's nothing wrong, but
Right.
that does give the context that they are interested in each other. You're
Maybe
spooning.
it depends. Well, I've spooned people I'm not interested in, right? People have spooned me I'm not interested
This
in.
has
or
got to
they're
be
not
like
interested in.
this has got to be a very low percent of humanity.
Well, that's the
talking
thing
about
we're
right now.
talking about. I think we are talking
I
about
doubt
a
that's Katie.
Well, we are talking about a very unique part of society, right? Streamers, successful, they're 1%ers. They are not normal society. They are kids who were stuck during COVID in their high school years. They're kids who are chronically online. They're not normal kids. And allegedly, some of them are neurodivergent. They're especially, I know,
She's literally doing the she's neurodivergent and a minor meme. Oh my fucking god.
what's his name? Dream especially is neurodivergent, but like that's what I mean. I don't think we're talking about average kids. I think we're talking about a very select group of inexperienced, naive, socially awkward people who don't know exactly what the rules are.
I mean, I hear what you're saying for other contexts, but I feel like you have to reach such a high bar of evidence to dismiss that they were cuddling and spooning to say this isn't inherently flirtatious. Like, we're talking on a crazy odds right now.
Well, based off how they both told the stories, I'm not sure because George said that it was comfortable and he thought it was okay, but he never even did he use the word sexual? I think he used the word like comfortable. Like I thought everything was okay, right? So I'm thinking maybe even he was thinking like, oh, I don't know what might happen tonight. And the fact that he didn't even ask her back to his hotel room after the elevator moment told me that maybe even he wasn't thinking sexual. Maybe he was thinking, I don't even know if George has sex. Do we even know if George is sexually active? Like we don't know anything about these people. Like I don't know. So let me tell you. Imagine you're Katie. You're spooning a person, and maybe
Does he even fuck though? Have you even considered? Did you even think? Maybe he doesn't fuck.
feels comfortable. And after an hour, all of a sudden, his hand is on whatever. That might feel out of the blue, but to George might feel like it makes sense. I think these two people miscommunicated and it set each other off. I don't think George intended to go over the boundary, and I don't think Katie is telling a lie, but I do think that in 5 or so years, she might have a different perspective on what happened, right? I think she might end up, and I hope she does come to this different perspective.
Okay, if the thing is like your personal growth journey or whatever to cope with the weird tickling or whatever, that's fine. Everybody goes through journeys. Yay. Yeah, of course. For sure. You don't drag other people into that shit. If I have to process my feelings about something, that's nobody else's problem but mine. And I'm not going to like lambaste somebody in fucking public. For what? Because I felt uncomfortable over a situation? That's so crazy.
That, okay, maybe that wasn't his intention. That maybe I just didn't understand the social situation. And same for George, which I think he admitted, right? He said he obviously feels like something like went wrong. And yeah, it happens, right? Like adulting is accepting that things will go wrong. The question is, are these people bad actors? Are they intentionally malicious? Are they evil, right? In a philosophy sense, like, are they intending malice on people? And I think that's what I'm more interested in. So do you think like Katie is
That's
intending?
been proven though.
What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
When you lie about someone to make them seem more predatory than they actually are, that's malice. You're making them seem more guilty than they are, more predatory than they are. You're doing that maliciously. That's what the definition is.
I was thinking about this. I didn't like that Katie kept trying to read George's mind. Like she kept trying to put a lot of maliciousness on him. Like he targeted me. He did it in front of a group of people to make fun of me. She put a lot of like negative spin on his actions. And though I could see that being a possibility, I think if we're being honest, like George doesn't seem like that kind of person. And I don't think Katie, I don't know anything about her any more than George, right? These are new people to me. This was the first time I ever heard about them. So I'm coming in totally like just neutral, right? I don't know who these people are. So when I see both Katie and George, I see both awkward people who might not know what they're talking about or doing. And so I didn't like that Katie put all that maliciousness on George, but I'm not sure that she couldn't do that. Like, okay, hear me out. I know this
I feel
sounds
like we're getting a little. I feel like we're getting a little in the weeds.
well,
Don't you
that's the
think so?
problem is like when I review content, this is my perspective of my work. So I'm not here to say like Katie lied. Like I don't have evidence that Katie maliciously lied. I have evidence that Katie lied about this and this, but why would she lie about those things? Did she think it just sounded good?
But you don't have evidence. We don't have evidence that she maliciously lied.
Like,
so you disagree that she purposely made George seem more predatory, so her allegation goes down better to the audience. You disagree with that?
Oh, no. I could agree with that, but I think she did that. No, I agree that because this is from a branding perspective, if she thinks he assaulted her, which she does, from our understanding, then she wants to make it as clear to the audience as possible that this is a bad person. So she'll play up and be hyperbolic about the way that it impacted her. Everyone does this when they tell stories. It's like an exaggeration to push the point across.
There's playing up and exaggerating, and then there's lying. And she's lied. She said it was them who tried to make her vulnerable by offering her drinks, and that's just a lie. That's just one of them.
Right, for sure. And I think, I mean, I agree with you. I'm saying I can see why all of those things could be true at the same time. So I can't write her off completely, but I could say we agree Katie's in the wrong here. Yeah, like we agree with that?
Okay, yeah, of course.
Okay, then we agree with that. So now you and I agree. False accusations are bad. Katie is in the wrong. George is innocent. We agree to all those things?
Yes.
Okay, so then once we agree to that foundation, now my work goes, why would Katie do this? And like, is it because she's malicious? Kind of like a court and a jury, right? Like I don't want a system.
Oh, is Brittany lying about her legal background? Hello? President Sunday, here is a woman lying about her credentials. President Sunday?
I don't want the mob going after 19-year-olds because they feel offended. I want to know why we're going after 19-year-olds who might have made a mistake. And if they didn't just make a mistake.
Okay, because it's not a mistake. She's literally accusing somebody of being like a rapist and a sexual assaulter and a predator. It's not like your mistakes happen in a vacuum. Like when your mistakes impact other people's perception and other people's reputation, that's a problem. That's why people are calling it out. Is because this guy is being painted as like a predatory like sexual assaulter that like gropes fucking ladies and, you know, molests girls at parties and shit like that and picks barely legal 18-year-old girlies for his weird gooner fetish or whatever. And it was just an uncomfortable situation that was kind of awkward. That's your mistakes do not happen in a vacuum, okay? Especially when your accusations indict the character of other people. It doesn't just accidentally like, oh, whoopsie. It's like, no, you're accusing somebody of something really serious. Like, you could say that he's weird, like a weird freak for tickling you. Okay, whatever. Saying that he sexually assaulted you and predated on you and picked you out and singled you out and publicly humiliated you in front of all of your friends at this party. That is an indictment of his character. Okay, and that's not just an oopsie whoopsie mistake. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. Well, true. Like if I just ran up to some random person and tickled them, that's like freak bizarro behavior. But like if I'm, you know, like cuddling with somebody, we have like that physical like boundary being okay. You know, like if we, you know, touch each other, hug each other, like whatever, and then I tickle them. That's different than me like running up to somebody and being like, "Goochie goochie goo." Like that's fucking weird. Sure, I wouldn't say that I'm like a rapist because I'm like tickling people or whatever. But if you already have like an existing like physical boundary that you're comfortable with, like spooning or cuddling or what have you, why is tickling rising to the level of like rape? Why? I don't understand it. It's very weird.
How do we hold them accountable? Through values that are their own or society's? Because these are very complicated issues, right?
I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty understanding like your position. I feel like I say something, you say I agree, but then you disagree right after. I feel like we're having a communication here somewhere.
I think most people do things because they think it's right. And the deviation comes...
She thought she was right. She thought she was right.
Yes.
And she thought she was doing a right thing.
Yes.
But regardless, doesn't mean she can't be held accountable and culpable for this.
I agree with you. Now...
She can think she's doing something right, but still lie along the way.
Yes.
Make George seem more predatory, and she should be held accountable for that.
Yes. Now, how do you want her to be held accountable?
That's not interesting to me.
Okay. So that's the part...
I don't think the consequences are that interesting.
Okay, what do you think is interesting then?
Well, like, trying to explain the disagreement in our perspective. Well, like, is the consequence that interesting? What, she should lose her career and lose her channel? Like, I don't know what should happen to her. She should learn from her mistakes. I mean, she still is very young. She's probably gonna learn from her mistakes. The problem is that she's just young and she had these mistakes online. A lot of these people make mistakes in the 90s or whatever, and it's just never broadcasted. Sure. They don't have to deal with the public pushback because she's a, you know, public streamer. She's gonna have to deal with a lot more pushback. And
I agree with that too, right? And it's hard to know.
But I mean, at the same time, she did put out a blatant false accusation accusing someone of a crime.
Oh, so she cannot. See, that's where we disagree. You can't put out a false accusation unless you know it's a lie.
What?
Well, because we agreed that she thinks she's...
Okay, that's just semantic definition, though. We agree it's a false accusation.
But no. Well, I agree. Well, it depends on who you ask, which is the point of my work as well. Words are contextual to culture. They're not objective.
It's like trying to nail Jell-O to the wall, bro. Like, truthfully, it's very simple. It's very simple. She knowingly lied. She beefed up her allegations to make it seem more serious than it was, to paint someone as a predator and, you know, like a rapist, essentially, as SAer, if you will, because of an awkward experience. And she chose knowingly to do that and was knowingly caught in several lies throughout all of this. That implies a malicious intent. Maybe she isn't sitting there at like the, you know, the drawing board, like thinking of like the most evil, twisted, sick, dark triad shit that she can do. But she did intentionally beef up the allegations to make it seem like he was this like predator that people needed to be like concerned about, or even potentially deplatform, or, you know, whatever. That implies maliciousness. It doesn't have to be Hitler planning, you know, to take over fucking Europe, but it can still be malicious in intent.
So a false accusation is knowing they didn't do something to you and accusing them of it anyways, and Katie thinks she was assaulted, so she can't falsely accuse him.
Okay. I don't know if this can be literally proven in a judge format to make her like seem guilty, but regardless, I think we're getting this is semantics. You know, I feel like we both understand what I'm saying, right?
Well, no, because we are disagreeing now. Now we are disagreeing because you cannot falsely accuse someone of something you thought they did. Okay. Like, she thinks she was assaulted, so she's saying I was assaulted. She's not lying.
You can think that way.
Right. But then that's where I would come in and say, okay, girl, like if I could talk to Katie, I'd say, let's talk about how he might have, by definition in certain cultures, assaulted you, but didn't intend to. Because I think intention matters. Some people don't. I do think it matters. Because I think it's the difference between George, who admitted to touching Katie, right? He didn't say how exactly, but he did say he touched her. And so there's something there, which I think he might have gone off physical. I think you even said in your video, correct me if I'm wrong, that like physical cues are important. Well, the world is changing to require verbal cues. And since they didn't use verbal cues, they will run into that.
Really? Is the world really changing like that?
Yeah, and
it's a very small minority of people.
No, it's hugely changing, and it should change in a way to mitigate consent violation, right? Because I'm assuming you don't want people getting violated, right? That's not the goal. The goal is to communicate. Is that a joke? Okay. Well, you never know. Okay, I don't want to like tell you how to think. So the point is like in order to mitigate harm and to say like we want to communicate the best possible. So I agree. I've absolutely verbally communicated with people, and it's gone okay. And then I've verbally communicated, it's gone okay. I've written down our intentions. I've talked to friends and said I intend to sleep with this person. We're gonna go have sex. We'll call if anything goes wrong. Like, I've done a lot of safety checks with people. I don't know if you've practiced any of those safety checks yourself. Like, hey, do you want to have sex with me? Like, and I don't mean for you to like tell the internet if you're sexually active or something. That's none of our business. But the point is,
asexual.
Oh, is that a joke?
Yes.
Yeah, you're making a joke because Katie said she's asexual. I get it. Okay. So the point is that what you are seeing as black and white, I'm seeing like as a cultural difference because I know the world is diverse. Like, I'm pretty traveled. I've read lots of books. I've like talked to lots of people. I really wish the world all spoke a universal language, but it's pretty clear we don't. So I'm saying the reason I do the work I do is to point out the fact that we're not all saying the same things. And so I think a person who thinks something happened to them can't falsely accuse somebody of something they think happened to them. I just don't think.
I mean, but the thing is like, so this is just like a fundamental logical error, where your perceptions of reality don't dictate what reality is. So, for example, we would never accept if somebody like truly and earnestly believed that they were Jesus Christ reincarnated. We would say this person is unwell. This person probably needs to be treated. This person is obviously not Jesus Christ. Okay. Even if that person believes it to be true, and them uttering it is, you know, essentially verbalizing this true belief that we have, we can objectively see the world from an outside perspective to say, like, you are not Jesus Christ reincarnated. You are not assaulted. You know, your leg isn't broken. You don't actually have IBS. Like, these are things that you can kind of look at from an outside perspective. And the fundamental error in a lot of the thinking, and one of the biggest problems that I have with kind of the philosophy that Brittany has, is that your perception of reality does not determine reality. And if you truly and honestly believe that, you shouldn't interact with other people, because reality has a really, really beautiful way of putting you in line with how things actually are, right? Like, there is a disconnect between what actually happened and what you think happened. And part of being a human, humans are going to human, right, is pulling those two things together in as close of alignment as possible. And your feelings and your perceptions warp reality in a really troubling way for a lot of people, especially in this situation where you think truly that you were assaulted. We're not checking the facts. We have the situation that happened and our feelings about it, and they're diametrically opposed. They cannot coexist. So something that emotionally mature people do, and I'm not like saying that Katie needs to be like this super emotionally mature, you know, like savant at 18 or whatever. It takes a long time to be able to do this, but it's such an important life skill, is being able to pull your feelings and reality as close together as possible, because your perceptions will taint your experience of reality, where objectively, maybe mom doesn't want to stop and get McDonald's on the way home from picking me up from school because she had a long day at work. She's tired. She just wants to go home and lay down. But my opinion, my perspective is that mom fucking hates me and she never wants me to have nice things in life. And if she wishes that she could go back and abort me because she won't get me McDonald's, she fucking hates me. The reality of that situation and my interpretation of that situation are incompatible. And it makes my perception It's wrong. And it has to be pulled together. You have to be able to tether yourself to reality. And it does a disservice to people by allowing them to believe that their experiences and perceptions dictates reality, because that's not true. That is just fundamentally untrue. And it's just a fundamentally like poorly adapted way to look at the world. Like, your perception does not determine reality. It just doesn't. And as a BPD, this has been one of the biggest things that I've had to work on. I can feel a certain way, but that doesn't necessarily reflect the true way of the world. And this is fundamentally true about life. This is fundamentally true about life. There are things that your perception will taint and ruin for you because you are not interpreting it correctly, or you're not looking at it objectively. Being able to step outside of your feelings and interpret situations will change your life for the better in every possible conceivable way. But if you truly believe that your experiences and your feelings and perceptions are what dictates and determines your reality, you need to seriously, not in a dick way, you need to go to therapy, because that you're not going to make it very long.
I've heard that narrative a lot. Like, I've heard people say, like, she's like ashamed to real victims and stuff like that. I'm not sure I really understand that perspective, mostly because I don't.
It hurts real victims that come out with their story. Yes, because when you come out with your story and you lie, that hurts real victims, and it's going to put doubt into more people and more women who come forward with their story. That's just objectively true.
This is a very true statement. I'm interested to see how she's going to argue against this.
If she lied, right? So the dilemma we're having, right?
Okay, but they just agreed that she lied.
Wait, we already.
Well,
did we not just cover that she did lie. We already
she didn't lie about George. We didn't lie about George sexually assaulting her, right? We agreed on that. That from her perspective, he did sexually assault her.
We're getting to the weeds. The semantics. She lied in her story, accusing George. That hurts real victims. And that's why people discredited her.
Well, people discredit people who don't lie as well, right? Like, I don't think it's. I agree with you that lying hurts and adds to the contribution. But at the end of the day, like, one person isn't impacting the movement. This is like saying, like,
one person with a huge following that a whole bunch of the internet has latched onto. Maybe you're talking about a normal girl in a friend group, but this is a girl who's had a ton of public news where XQC covers them, big streamers. What do you mean? This is a huge example.
Okay, but
make people disbelieve women who come forward in the future.
Right, but just to make sure, even if she lied within the storytelling of her story, doesn't mean she's lying about the essay.
No, but regardless, that discredits her story.
Well,
and that's why people dismiss her.
I think that's the problem. Is, like, no one is a perfect victim. Like, victims of essay do lie.
It's not about perfect victimhood. It's about lying. It's the lie that is the part that everybody is taking issue with, is the lie. Like, do victims act imperfectly? Sure. Do victims act irrationally? Sure. Do victims act incongruent with what you would expect them to do sometimes? Yeah, of course. That's not the question. The question is, if you have somebody who is claiming sexual assault, and it is proven that they're willing to lie and exaggerate claims, what does that say about the allegation itself? And then what does that do for people who have actually been assaulted and actually been raped, and their credibility being tested as well? Because people like this are willing to lie and exaggerate and demonize people. This is just, I don't know why this isn't being followed, because it's not about being a perfect victim. It's about not lying and making somebody look like a predator when they really truly didn't do anything.
27,
okay.
28.
I guess just one of the screen that you use this as a defense to defend Katie in a sense. You brought this up in your video saying, well, freshly 18, you dismissed the point saying she's freshly 18 the entire duration she's 18, and that's just inherently a contradiction of a sentence. That just makes no sense. How can someone be freshly 18 the entire time? That's what I'm pushing back on.
I know, but the point she was making is what I agree with her on, that she was naive, and that from my understanding, her parents or her mom, I don't remember who, sent her friend with her to watch her. That she was
mind reading her position right now. I thought we weren't assuming.
No, but that's the context. So that's the context of the video. The context of the video is to show she's making a case for why she's naive, and she's like, I'm freshly 18, and that's okay, so she's 18. That's a good.
Yeah, but do you know the purpose why she said she was freshly 18? She used this phrasing purposely to make George look more predatory than he actually is. If she said she was a freshly an adult, that would be fine. But she chose this wording on purpose, and then got called on the fact that she wasn't freshly 18. Then
yeah, but that's normal. That's so human. Everyone does that. Politicians do that. News anchors do that. YouTubers do that. That is so everywhere. Everyone. You're doing it now, kind of.
So you can't critique it?
No, you can critique it, but I think you're critiquing it in a way that.
This is killing me. There's so much of nothing. So much of nothing, bro.
Doesn't allow for the truth to come out. It's too biased. It's like you're doing it now. You're putting so much on her. Like you're putting so much responsibility on her that I'm not sure you're being fair to her either. Like, do you think you could be fair to Katie? Like, do you think you're being fair to her?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's the thing, right? I think I'm being fair to Katie and George as well.
Okay, that's cool. But I'm explaining points why I believe this way, and that she said she was freshly 18 to make George look more predatory than he is. That is. Do you disagree with that? She did that to make him look more of a predator.
Well, I think she did that to make it a point, right? If I was 22 and I had a guy in his 50s.
A point of what?
Well, I agree with you, to make it clear that he's a predator. That he's picking on younger women. I agree with you.
Okay.
But you're making it sound like she's maliciously doing it. I'm not sure she's planning it so much as she's doing a good strategic.
Well, I've already explained how she has done that.
Well, I know, but no. There's two different kinds of planning. When I went to court to defend myself, you have to plan a good case. Even if you're innocent, you have to be strategic. You're implying that because she's strategic, she's guilty. And I'm saying, no, I'm saying could be.
Because she's strategic, she's guilty. Yeah, but what if the strategy is literally lying and over-exaggerating to the point of just misinformation?
Exactly. So do we know which one it is? But do we know which one it is? For real, or do we just think?
Explained earlier, yes, because we had the text message proof showing that it was her and her friends who suggested get the alcohol.
Yes, but
I don't know. I feel like,
but okay, if you take now it's like we're like a judge and jury. I think it's fine that you came to the consensus you did, but you feel like I came to the wrong consensus. And I'm saying, what's the difference from me saying you came to the wrong one and you saying I came to the wrong one? What's the difference? You think?
Because I believe I have evidence and facts to back up what I'm saying.
Exactly. And I believe I don't have enough evidence or facts to come to a conclusion. So the one I came to, I'm open to changing. But the evidence isn't going to come from you. It's going to come from Katie, George, and Dream. Well, Katie and George, right? Because I've seen the same evidence you have, and I still came to a different conclusion. I saw the videos, I saw the text messages, I read them out to my stream. My stream and I also agreed, like, yep, like I maybe could be a predator. Katie could be fucking tricking all of us on the internet. We could all be dumb as fuck, and maybe you're so right. I'm gonna, need to call you up in a month and be like, bro, you totally fucking called it for sure. But I'm not willing to come to a definite conclusion. So my definite conclusion, I feel like, is more realistic, which is like miscommunication, awkward communication. Maybe Katie has somebody in her life that said, tell this story, and we're assuming it's the friends. Maybe it's not the friends. Maybe it's somebody else, right?
Okay, yeah, we can move on from this point. I guess I just the disagreement with the awkward communication. Yes, there's miscommunications, but then there's lies. So there's both two different things.
I agree. They're different.
We can move on to the next thing, I guess. So what is this? Around in like 38 minutes in your video, when you react to me showing how Katie blatantly lied, you dismiss it by saying, I don't know why we're attacking a 19-year-old, like any of you are better. Which is this point, Katie should be exempt from criticism after making a false accusation about lying about George. So yeah.
Okay, don't think it's a false accusation. We don't know if it is, right? So you have to take that out of your narrative. You have to ask me the question without that narrative. Like, do you think Katie should be held
exempt
accountable?
of criticism for lying about George?
No, if about the cell phone lie, no, she should be held accountable for like misrepresenting that. And absolutely, the way we would hold her accountable is probably by unsubscribing, right? That's like how the internet can work. You don't have to send her death threats, which she's gotten. She's gotten so much heat, so don't do that, right? But like unsubscribe.
Okay, well then don't false allege that people are like fucking predators and shit won't hit the fan. I don't know what to say.
Maybe don't trust her. Maybe give her a chance to come back from it. Maybe, who knows? But I don't think 19-year-olds are exempt, but I think I meet them where they're at. I don't treat a 19-year-old like a 35-year-old. I don't treat everyone the same. I treat everyone based off of the context of who they are, and that's how the law works. That's how people judge.
You exist in the context of all those that came before you. You just fall out of a coconut tree. Like, kill me.
We treat people usually better or worse if we know them or don't know them. So I see 19-year-olds and I think, okay, undeveloped brain, not socialized, probably mentally ill.
It just comes across as like a dismissive defense when you say, I don't know, why are we attacking this girl? She's only 19. Why are we attacking this girl?
It's because people are going harder on Katie than other adults in the space. And I also, to be fair, had just covered the Andrew Huberman case, and my audience and I are up to date with things. So I'm also talking to my audience, right? I've got to learn as a YouTuber when I make my clips to assume people that are my audience will see them and how they might read the context. But like obviously, like even Andrew Huberman, who's a Stanford professor or like a scientist, for Stanford, he just got outed, and like that doesn't matter, and he's a grown up. They're holding him less accountable, than they're gonna hold Katie. But again, like Katie's 19, people lie. Like this grown man was caught lying, nobody gave a fuck. You know what I mean? Nobody gives a fuck. So the point I was making was just that it's funny that the internet keeps going for Katie so hard, but they won't go for any of these other people who are adults. And I just think we pick and choose. I think Katie's an easy target. I think she's annoying, and people think she's annoying.
Well, it's just the popularity of the topic. She's going
of
for a 10
course.
million subscriber YouTuber. That's probably why it has the most attention.
Yeah, of course, absolutely, right? And then she's rolling in those circles, and like, oh my gosh, I've been to so many VidCons in my life. I've hung out with so many YouTubers. It's drama and it's messy. And honestly, I thank God I'm like in my little corner of Europe. The internet's messy. Not everyone cuddles the same or spoons the same. I also don't know if they mean spooning horizontal on the couch or if they mean like side to side. I was confused on that because I think people describe spooning differently. Like I think spooning is when you're like crotch to boobs, like crotch to butt.
Yeah.
And chest to back. So she said she was on the couch cuddling and spooning, and she was turning towards somebody else. So my brain was like, did she mean that they were on the couch and they were kind of like cuddling? It was confusing.
Okay, this is like
I'll point out that Katie did. That was really.
Get over it when he's falsely accused. And I bring up and you bring up the point, and I bring up the point that anytime this guy ever wants to interact with a girl again, they'll be able to look up his name and immediately see he's been accused of sexual assault. And you even bring up Chris Brown as your example here, which is someone who got like accused and can still maintain his career. So therefore, George won't have a problem maintaining his career because Chris Brown still has a career. Which I mean, this is just like a complete non-comparison. Georgenotfound and Chris Brown, how is that comparable at all? And plus, Chris Brown's reputation has been heavily damaged by his accusations. It's like common knowledge to make a joke about him beating Rihanna.
Yeah, as it should, right? He beat Rihanna, right? Okay.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Even more, that's like an insane comparison to draw to Georgenotfound.
Well, okay, so
this example kind of was like the worst.
Yeah. So okay, I need to clarify this because like this is very important for my brain. I do not make one-to-one comparisons. Everything's a spectrum to me. So what I was comparing in that moment was not George to literally Chris Brown. It was to the fact that if Chris Brown has pictures of Rihanna getting fucked, can I say fuck on your stream?
Of course.
Have we even said that already? Okay. The fact that Chris Brown has pictures of Rihanna fucked up with bruises and people still work with him and are friends with him, which is like maybe domestic abusers aren't always domestic
because
abusers.
He's like an S-class celebrity with a bunch of power. That's probably why.
Okay, you say that,
It's
but in order for him to
a weird
maintain that
example.
power, again, watch my logic. In order for him to maintain that power, people would have to consent to allowing abuser in their like arena, right? Because Chris Brown had an opportunity to never come back, and he still to this day complains that he's never back where he was because people say this about him. Now, okay, then Georgenotfound, okay, because what the argument was like people's careers or their lives get ruined. So Brittany's brain thinks your life getting ruined is like sent to jail for 40 years for something you didn't do, right? That's fucked up. That means you have no relationship with society. But Georgenotfound isn't getting locked up. He has access, status. He literally has resources.
Okay, he's not locked up. Can we agree? Can we come to common ground that his reputation will forever be heavily damaged?
In what capacity do you mean that?
Oh my god, there's no way she can't eat this. There's no way she can't eat this. Of course his reputation is going to be heavily damaged. Of course it is. That's crazy. What?
I don't think that
Look up the guy's name. The Wikipedia article he always has will always have allegations, sexual assault. I think that heavily hurts someone's reputation for the rest of their life.
I agree that it is going to impact him in some capacity, yes. I'm not sure to what degree, though, and I think that's probably what we're arguing, is it will impact him. Everything, good or bad, will impact somebody. I'm not sure to what degree.
Yeah, I'm just curious, though, because, like, you give so much empathy and understanding to Katie, but then when George comes around, you say, get over it.
Well,
he's falsely accused. Like, that was a crazy line you said. You
for sure. Keep in mind, my first 3 videos were about George, and my 4th video was about Katie. So the first 3 videos I made, I'm purely on George's side, Katie's a bitch, all that stuff. And then I was like, okay, let's kind of hone it in. Let's try to make this more empathy. So the 4th video I made about them was specifically about Katie. It was about understanding
Fair, but
Katie's
still doesn't, like,
perspective.
defend, like, just get over
Well,
that.
okay, so
backtrack that. I mean, how do you defend that?
So okay, this is what I mean. I mean, not George, a consciousness should just get over it. George, the consciousness, should go through therapy and whatever he needs for his support system and reach out to people in his life and move through this process. But George himself will be able to move on from this, meaning he won't need to crucify Katie. He won't need to like, oh, Katie's a bitch and she should go to jail. He'll be able to say, okay, you did a bad thing. We all agree. Let's move on. I have a feeling George is the kind of person, he seems to have the maturity to move on, which is, by the way, incredible. I think very highly of George. That's why I'm giving him this amount of like expectation. Now, maybe that's wrong. I don't mean to put that on him, right? Obviously. But I think so highly of George in the way that
The reason why he explained at the end of his first response that it's okay if she regrets that night, but it's not fair to blame him for regretting the experience.
Yeah.
So I think there's just facts wrong on your end unless you have some new information you want to give to me.
Right. Now, I will say, I do not know if he literally touched her boobs. Nobody knows.
Well, you said that he apologized for touching her tits.
Right.
Consent. That's just not true.
I swear I was putting quotation marks up when I said that. Maybe not, but that's what see,
I have the timestamp. We
okay,
can put the timestamp.
even if I didn't, that's what I meant. Like, that's what I'm doing in my stream. I'm like, he touched her tits or
Oh,
whatever. Like,
God.
I'm saying we don't know, but I'm trying to add context to what Katie put in. So obviously I know that. So for clarification, I know we do not know if he touched her boobs. That we do not know that. We only know Katie said that, but George did not confirm it. What George did confirm, and what I remember hearing, so I could be wrong, is that George said, I did slip my hand up Katie's shirt. I did touch her. I won't go into details. I'll let her decide that. And so that there's like maybe I misheard that, but I felt like, okay, that's an insinuation of maybe something more happened, or maybe it was just her stomach, or maybe it was something else, but I'll let George and Katie decide how to mutually tell that story. So now Katie came out with more details. I don't know if she's telling the truth, obviously, but George did say that I'll let Katie kind of tell the details of what happened. And so we're assuming that's what Katie did. What do you think about that?
Assume the details of Katie and what?
Like George said, we'll let Katie tell the details if she wants. And so when Katie came out and said that he touched her boob, doesn't that kind of infer? We don't know that, but doesn't that kind of mean that that's what happened? Or no? Should we?
I mean, yeah, I have no problem saying. I say in my video. Yeah, George, I have no problem admitting that George touched her tits, but I just still don't care. I don't think that changes much.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just think that's where the miscommunication probably came up, right? And I also do believe in the validity of asexuality. Not
and the
that
miscommunication with you?
No.
Or Katie George? Are you talking about the quotes thing still and saying that he apologized for touching her without her consent? Or are you talking about George and Katie?
Are you saying you didn't see him apologize, or that he said he's very sorry to Katie? I think I'm confused. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so like the point is that he's never apologized for touching her without her consent. He apologized for her feelings and if she feels bad and regrets the night.
Well, that's obviously
two very different things.
Yeah, but to George, oh my God, like he would be a monster if he wasn't doing both, right? He's saying, I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. I wouldn't have done that if I thought it was wrong. Like obviously he's saying, like, I apologize. Does it matter? Like, it's not that he needs to apologize for literally touching her. It's apologizing for not reading the situation correct, right? Like, same thing.
Oh, this is just horrible to listen to. I think I'm all done listening. I think that we got the gist of this. I thought it's just crazy that she, like, walked back every single fucking thing in this. Like, and she just is very unfamiliar. Like, she says that she has, like, 4 videos on the subject, and she's so unfamiliar with, like, the context of it and everything. And I think it's just an insane position to take that, like, false allegations don't, like, demonstrably destroy someone's reputation. And the idea that, like, your experience determines reality or your perception or your feelings determines reality is just, it's bonkers. It's straight bonkers. Listen, I wouldn't have uploaded this video personally, but different strokes for different folks, I suppose.